We're talking to Professor Khaled Mattawa, acclaimed Libyan poet and scholar in University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, where, by the way, there is an ice storm that is taking place now. Talk about the prison massacre. Human Rights Watch said 1,270 prisoners were killed there. This was years ago, though, and a human rights lawyer's arrest that might have been the spark for these most recent protests. Professor Mattawa.
Fathi Turbo will come down as one of the heroes of Libya. He had persisted to help the families of the victims of the Abu Slim massacre. He really took all the opportunities offered to him by the regime, which is they admitted finally that this massacre, 12 years later, they admitted that the massacre took place. They would never show the numbers. They had said that there's an investigation, but they never brought any piece of paper to actually show who the culprits were. And we know who the culprit is. Everyone knows that it is Abdullah Sanusi. He is the head of internal security. He is wanted by the Interpol for bombing the French airliner that was sort of the parallel to the Lockerbie over Africa. We know who did it, and it was a complete act of betrayal. These were prisoners who had asked for rights of visitation, for better conditions, and when they were beginning to demand, they were beaten, and they managed to capture 2 prison guards, and the riots erupted. And then Abdullah Sanusi came to them and said, okay, I will take care of you. We will deal with this safely. Why don't you now give me your injured, and we will take them to the hospital. And he negotiated with them, and this was stated well. He took the injured in buses, and those injured people, maybe 150 people, were never heard of again. And then he came back at the prisoners, blew into their cells, forced them into a courtyard, and he had guards with Kalashnikovs on top of the open courtyard and shot at them. They shot at them for approximately 2 hours, killing everyone. Some of the survivors of the Abu Slim massacre were people who happened to be in the kitchen, and it so happened that some of the negotiations were taking place somewhere near the kitchen. And so the witnesses that have survived are people who were completely by chance. There were reports that people who had ended up in Abu Slim shortly after the massacres saw that once some of the paint began to flake, there was blood on the walls behind the new paint. So it's a complete travesty, a complete disaster on the Libyan people. But it's also something that the regime never wanted to admit to. They never wanted to address. They never wanted to catch who did it, because it was an intrinsic act of indicative of what the regime is, and its spirit, and its policies, and the way it treated its people. So they never addressed it, and it never went away. It just never went away. And in the 2000s, with Saif al-Islam saying, we will address this, and al-Gaddafi acknowledging they will do this, they kept pushing them. The Ministry of Justice would not answer them. Gaddafi would not do anything. Saif al-Gaddafi's Human Rights Association would not be able to do anything. They kept pushing them and pushing them to the fringes. But individually, they had been sent people to bribe the families with little bits of money. What happened on the 15th or the 14th is Turbo made a speech saying, we are going to now have a sit down here, and then he was arrested, and as soon as he was arrested, that's when the demonstrations took place.
That was the human...
He was a real hero.
That was the human rights attorney, Fathi Turbo. We have 30 seconds, Professor Mattawa. Exactly. Do you think Gaddafi is still in the country? Do you think that these protests will overthrow Gaddafi?
You know, this is the moment that Libyans have been waiting for a very, very, very long time. Reports that he's flown to Venezuela. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It is really now just coming down to Tripoli, and as Saif al-Gaddafi indicated, they are trying to fight very hard, and they are fighting hard because they're killing a lot of people very quickly in Tripoli. I think the regime is over. Even if Muammar Gaddafi manages to survive, even if they manage to suppress things, in Libya. By miracle, they managed to survive. Saif al-Gaddafi himself had made the most sweeping reconciliation, saying, okay, everything will be on the table. We will have a new constitution. We will have a new flag, etc., etc. Well, Libyans are saying, yes, we will have a new constitution. Perhaps we will have a new flag, but we don't want you or your father or the rest of your clan. Get out of here. Leave.
Khaled Mattawa, we have to leave it there.
Back, Libya is forever changed by these events.
I thank you very much, Professor Khaled Mattawa, acclaimed Libyan poet and scholar, professor at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.